Right.
She goes, it'll be on your skeleton when you're dead. And I went, sold. I want one of those. I want one of those. And it's about the same price, depending on market value. It's just that people want one that'll blend in. And
sure, that makes sense.
For other ones, let's have them blend in. But for this guy, gold. I want a gold.
For this guy, you just gotta, you know what? Sometimes in life, ladies and gentlemen, you just need a gold tooth.
You need a gold tooth, man.
Yeah.
You need a gold tooth.
And you know what else is gold?
What's that?
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Pixel It. My name is Kevin. With me, as always, is Phil. And today we are finishing up Eco Castle in the Mist.
Solid gold.
It's solid gold, baby.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It's a beautiful book. It's a beautiful book with a beautiful cover. And I thoroughly enjoyed our time with this book. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
So did I. Like right off the bat, just to get it out there, really enjoyed this book.
Yeah. So where did we last leave off? What had just happened when we left off?
That's a really good question, actually. Where did we leave off? Because let me see. Because we got into part 3, which is all about Yorda, and I believe that's the name of chapter 3. All about Yorda. No,
all about Yorda.
No, we left off when she went to the top of the tower and she viewed out over the ocean and saw for the first time the petrified merchant vessels and that sort of thing of nearby kingdoms that had been coming, trying to see them, and basically saw for the first time, the work of her mother.
What hath the queen wrought?
Exactly. So we get in this we're picking up pretty much at the end speed.
And it's the end of chapter 3, and just after Yorda. This is 3.10, and this is basically just after Yorda is in her room doing her spyglass fun times.
Yeah.
It's a conversation between her and Ozuma is telling Yorda that what she saw was an emissary from the Zugrenda Soul Empire that had been sent to her mother's kingdom as just like, hey, let's chat. And her mom was just like, nah, and stoned them all.
Yeah.
So she wants to, Yorda basically, she wants to get inside of the Tower of Wind. And basically Ozuma is like, you know what? You're probably going to need something so that the shades don't attack you, some sort of mark to identify you. And this is, it's not a direct tie into the mark that Eco wears, but it's kind of using the same verbiage to describe like, oh, okay, yes, this is the thing that Eco is wearing is kind of doing something similar to this.
Yeah, so there's a parallel there. Yeah.
There's a parallel here. Yeah. So Yorda prays to her father, like, hey, Pops, I need you to help me out one more time. And she goes to the trolley and she sees her father and 2 other ghosts standing in one of the trolley platforms. And she recognizes that the 2 other ghosts are 2 of his advisors that disappeared around the time that her father died, and she thought nothing of it. And she's like she has this dawning realization of horror that like, oh, once my father died, these 2 guys were just killed.
Right. It's kind of hilarious because her like assumption is like, well, yeah, he stopped being king, so they had to move on with their lives, and they weren't going to advise the next king. The next king wants to have their own advisors. That's just how this works. It's like, oh boy, you really were putting the blinders on, kid. Good Lord.
So it's all confirmed when that, there are ghosts standing there. As she approaches, the ghosts kind of disappear. And what's left behind is her dad's signet ring. And the ghost of her father then tells her telepathically, I think, or ethereally. However,
Ghost,
the voice comes,
ghost talking.
Yeah, ghost talk.
Yeah.
That this is probably the last time he's going to be able to talk to her, and also, shit be crazy in the Tower of Wind. So be careful.
Yeah. Which at this point, I think we all gathered. We all
gathered.
Thanks for the heads up. But I think we figured that out.
Thanks for the heads up, Pops. So chapter 3.11, Uzuma breaks down to Yorda what the Book of Light is, and she's like, "Well, that must be the thing in the Tower of Wind." So the plan, basically, in Nathan Felder. Basically coming in with, all right, the plan.
Right.
Here's what we're doing. Yorda's gonna enter the Tower of Winds while Uzuma puts on a dazzling show at the tournament, trying to keep everybody's attention on him. And she wears the signet ring on a little necklace. And she gets into the tower, and she begins to climb the tower because there's a cage up at the top, much like every time we've seen the tower in past, present, and future. There's always this cage up at the top. And she begins to climb the tower. There's stairs that are breaking and shades that are appearing, but the signet ring manages to keep the shades at bay. Mm-hmm. And then she lowers the bird cage down to the ground, and she finds her father's bones. And inside the skull is the Book of Light. And she grabs the Book of Light, and the skull begins floating and attacking her.
Yeah. This, by the way, this is the most jarring moment for me, because I remember reading this and I was just like, oh, like when you realize that her father has been kept in this, fucking gibbet cage for like however long, she like sees like a wisp of his hair sticking out of one end of the robe and realizes that her father's corpse is in there. And you're like, it's really effective and really spooky and really sad, and like finding her father's corpse. And then all of a sudden it's like, I'm the skeleton, come to bite you. And it literally,
I'm Skelly Man.
Yeah, it's just the biting skeleton. That's the alarm system. Bitey skeleton.
She's just like dodging, and the skeleton bites her shoulder.
Right, just keeps chomping on her, just which, look, that's gotta be like, I'm sure magic skeleton, new powers, right? But that's still gotta be an inconvenience at best. It's like, fucker, get off. Like, ow.
Yeah. She's like, it's trying to bite my throat.
Yeah, that's right. She realizes it's going for her throat.
Which is
funny. Have a really bad bruise.
It reminds me, Shadowkeep had a moment with a floating skeleton head.
Yes, the Lich. I thought of the same thing. That was there but that one, it didn't like attack them. Oh, did it? I forget. It shot laser beams out of its eyes or
something like that. It shot laser beams, or
it was a little more outlandish.
It was a little bit more outlandish than just a skeleton. And in my head, I just imagine it just like it's like a 1950s horror movie, and you can kind of see the wire that the skull is being
that little glimmer of it. Yeah,
it's just like
just Ed Wood style. Or it's like a black background, and if you look closely, you can see the black like glove of the hand in the puppet. It was all practical effects. It was a better time. Moves were better back then, man.
Moves were better when there was practical effects were 100% flawless.
Can CGI make a bitey skeleton quite like that? I do not think so. No,
I do not think so. It would not be real.
No, man, it's not the same.
It's not the same. Not the same. So she fights off the bitey skeleton.
She sure does.
She sure does. She uses the power of the ring to destroy the skull. Shatters, and then there's like a big old bright light, and then basically the skull is back where it was, and the book is just sitting on top of her father's corpse. And she grabs it, and once she grabs the book, like all the ghosts appear and start flying away, and she's like purified the tower.
Yeah,
and she gets a if you build it, they will come moment with her dad.
Yeah. Dad shows up again. Good luck.
He just kind of floats away into the air, and that's a picture wrap on old King Dead Guy.
Old King Dad.
King Dad.
King Dad is, I think, like his soul's now at peace, and he can
his
just
soul's at peace. It's gone into the ether.
The void.
The void. So, by the way, there's one of the next Marvel movies, the Thunderbolts. I heard rumors.
Yeah.
I heard rumors. Speaking of the void, that the Sentry might be the villain.
Oh, now, geez. All right. If they're gonna do the Sentry, are they going in like the full Bendis, like he's a comic character, like a myth, like that whole thing,
right?
They did with
like
him in New Avengers.
Maybe I think that would be that's kind of interesting. Where basically cool. he actually was one of the original Avengers, but everybody's memory of him was wiped away.
Right. And it's just he just exists as a fictional comic book character.
He just exists as his fictional comic book character because that's the only way people actually remember his existence.
That would be interesting because that's like you do a lot of wall breaking with that kind of shit. And that could be fun. That could be fun.
For those of you who don't know, is what we're off topic now, but for those of you who don't know, okay, the Sentry he's basically the Marvel Universe's version of Superman.
Yeah.
But and I know Superman fans are like, oh, Superman's strong. Okay, Sentry would fuck him up on a good day. That's the thing about Sentry is that he could easily destroy everybody and the universe with the level of power that he has. The problem with him is he's a big old sad boy.
Right, he's completely cracked. He's sitting in his
suffers
room.
from anxiety and depression. And agoraphobia. So he's afraid to go outside. It's
and I know what you're saying. You're saying, Kevin, Phil, if I, with all of my anxiety and depression, had infinite godlike powers, we would not be here. Just out of a completely random panic attack that I had, over something that my dad said when I was 8 years old. And me too. So, yeah.
Now you're getting why you're
understanding why he's a threat, right?
There's also the Void is basically the evil version of the Sentry. It's not like Moon Knight, where Moon Knight has dissociative identity disorder. The Void is basically just a mirror version of him,
right? That
exists because he exists.
Yeah,
but it's also him. It's weird. It's weird. It's super metaphysical, but
I tell you though that Bendis run of New Avengers was friggin' great. I really liked that. That was the last time I think that I was really keeping up. With comics on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody that the last time I was keeping up with comics was there was an arc. Basically, Emma Frost was in charge of the X-Men.
Yeah. I get the occasional trade here and there for specific books.
Yeah, occasionally dip back in. I think it's more important to just occasionally have a character that you want to, occasionally dip back into.
Check back in on. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
check
fun.
out, get some trades. And none of this has been brought up because I'm hopelessly addicted to playing Marvel Snap.
I can't stop. Almost done with the Black Panther storyline. The last chapter opens tonight.
Yep. I know what I'll be doing.
That was $10 well spent, by the way. Like that bought me. They are truly like really holding it back when it comes to monetization here. Like they were like, hey, it's the new challenge for November and it's $10 to take part. And you get all these, the more you play, the more you unlock these cool things. You just need to give us $10 and you're in. I was like, yeah, sign me the fuck up. Yeah, I'm in. Great.
I'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in. Like that's friggin' awesome. That's a great way to go about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm still really enjoying that game. Fuck.
Yeah.
Take that.
And anyway, we're talking about Eco now, which is
Castle
a book that we like. Classic text of video game adaptation, Eco.
Yes.
All because one of us said void. That's all it takes.
That's all it takes. Wow, we really are just God. Yeah, we need to, if we ever open a Patreon, we need to do like the non-ADHD version where we do the episode a second time, but after we've like taken ADHD medication or something like that, and they'll be like 20 minutes long.
I'll just read straight through my notes, and that's
really tight. And every now and then you'll hear me go, that happened. Mm-hmm.
Yep, I agree.
Mm-hmm. Okay, see you next week for BioShock Infinite.
So, Yorda leaves the Tower of Wind, and whoopsie daisy, there's Mommy Dearest. She's standing on the other side of the bridge to the tower. She's got her black cloak on. She's none too pleased. They trade some words, and then Yorda uses the book on her mom.
Yep.
Her mom basically dissolves and disintegrates into the air, and then everybody tries to kill Yorda. Because the enchantment is now broken. On the city,
and all the people start. They're like, she's basically she dissipated into like a mist and is like
and then absorbs herself into everybody. Like their eyes go completely jet black and now she's controlling them, and they're all chanting "Kill Yorda," and then everything looks lost, right? And then Ozuma comes running to the rescue, and I love this little detail where it says Ozuma's just cutting people down left and right.
Yeah, Ozuma's like, they can't save them, by the way. Yeah, fuck it. Like it's like at no point is he like, these are actually just seconds ago these were innocent peasants and people, and fuck
Ozuma's
it.
like, nah, fuck it, gotta cut them down.
They're in my way. They're part of the darkness now. They're vampires.
They're vampires now. Ozuma catches up to her, and he's like, well, only one thing left to do, and they jump off the bridge. Yep. And we finally come back to present day. And Eco, basically, all of this has been one gigantic vision that Eco has been hit with all at once. So he's basically absorbing all of Yorda's memories, and Yorda is like, remembers who she is, and she's like, oh, this is the boy, all that stuff. And we move into chapter 4, and Eco, now with all of her memories unlocked, he begins to start talking to himself. He's like piecing the story together of what happened next, because the point at which her memories stopped being transferred to him still left a lot of questions,
the story isn't over at that point. Because at first when it ends like that, because they jump into the water and it's like that's it, and we go, and I was like, so wait, did they drown? But then you realize
what happened.
So
a whole lot more happened.
We got a whole lot more happened, as it turns out.
And he does a little
Eventually the author went, oh, maybe I'll just maybe I'll stop doing a flashback and show him.
Let's just move it. That's moving and grooving. Eco does some math for everybody who's wondering. The emperor who led the attack was the 5th emperor of the Zagrendasol Empire. The current emperor is the 18th. Mm-hmm. So, it's a fair number fair number of years,
five generations at least. So 150, 200 years.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Depending on the average lifespan of the emperor.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Give or take.
So the shades continue to attack, and they're basically playing the whole, you should just let us take Yorda, buddy. Buddy, it's her fault, pal.
They move on. Like, as at first they were like, hey, you're one of us, you should be like on our side, which is kind of sad and vague. But now they start going, hey, dude, she's an asshole. Like, they actually start fuck her, dude. Like, do you know who you're helping? Have you seen her Twitter account from last year? Like,
God,
it was such a fake apology. I didn't buy it at all.
Hashtag cancel culture. Am I right? Shades,
Ugh.
my fellow shades.
Ugh. Fucking SJWs, I swear. I didn't like the way that tasted in my mouth. I didn't even like that as a joke.
Didn't even come out right, you know. It just kind of So yeah, the shades are doing their thing, and Yorda seems to kind of be blaming herself as well as to why she takes the blame as to why the queen won. And then they keep moving and they reach a cistern. Iko jumps down into it and he has another vision. And the vision is of prisoners. This is chapter 4.2 now. Yeah. Prisoners at the castle. And while he's in the vision, a knight taps him on the shoulder and starts speaking to him about once the enchantment was broken, everybody in the castle started killing each other.
Yeah. You guys got out of there and they didn't just go, oh, good, they're gone. Now we can get back to our lives as normal.
Yeah.
No,
there's fights. There were mass executions. And everyone died. And this actually ties back to the earlier scene where Iko is in the room with the chandelier, where there was all those people just being hung off the ceiling. And the queen did this so that she could feed off of the malice that was generated by them killing each other and became more powerful after basically she grew in power once all of this happens.
Yeah.
Chapter 4.3, they continue on. Iko has another vision of a woman killing herself, a handmaiden. Things just get darker. It's
you know, the difference between the first half of this book and the second half of the book is vast, just because it opens. It's, you know, it's always got a little darkness, but it's this kind of charming coming of age.
It's
thing.
It's like coming of age here and the like dark undertones here. And then it's like by the second half, it's like,
yeah, it's bleak. It's really bleak.
It's really bleak. The shades attack again while they're running through an area, and Iko at this point, having listened to the shades, having seen, like, heard about the prisoners all killing each other and the people all killing each other and the suicides and the executions and all that stuff, he sees the shades surrounding Yorda, and he's on the other side of a jump that he just made, and he's like, she can make it. And then he sees the shades and he's like, maybe I should just let them take her. Like, he actually starts to think, like, maybe,
he really does.
maybe she is the bad guy. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
Right. For the first time, he's just like, he finally thinks, is this juice worth the squeeze? Like, after all of this bullshit. Which is a fine question to ask, 10-year-old. Finally, you got there.
Finally.
Proud of you.
Proud of you, buddy.
Good job, kid.
Then Ozuma from Beyond speaks to Iko ethereally and basically gives him slaps him on the face from the afterlife, and says, "No, you better save her, you fucking asshole."
What the fuck?
And then he starts
all about.
And then Ozuma makes Iko's horns feel like they're on fire.
Yeah. Fucked up. So you're like, hey, dude, you've got horns too. You know how fucked up this is.
And Iko's like, fine. So fine. He saves Yorda, and they continue on. They get down to the arena, and they find Iko finds a sword in the arena. I didn't actually understand this particular moment about the sword. I don't know if it was like a translation issue, but it's like they found a sword. Somebody was trying to prop open a window to reflect light onto one of the globes that opens the gates, and then there's a line about there's a streak of light in the sky that the shades wouldn't dare touch or something like that. And I
feel like this must have been some sort of translation of one of the puzzles in the game.
Sure.
I've watched through some of the game. I haven't played it, and I certainly didn't watch all of it on the long through I saw it. But it felt like if this was not in the actual game, like using one of the old light reflection puzzles. If that is, I would be very surprised if that wasn't actually directly out of the game. Because it gets very specific suddenly. It's like, all right, you're flashing the light off the sword, bouncing it off onto the globe, et cetera, et cetera. That feels like a translation from the game itself, adaptation rather. That's my guess. It feels like a mirror puzzle.
Yeah. So I don't know. I didn't get it. But they continue on. So it's not. Yeah. It was just a brief paragraph, but it threw me for a loop because I was just trying to figure out what exactly it was referring to. And Eco, we're in 4.4 now. Eco is noticing that Yorda is not looking too hot. He's like, her skin is looking waxy. Like she's got the flop sweats. Her hair hasn't been brushed in eons.
She's just a mess. You'd think she'd run a comb through her hair or something. She's got company over. This is her house. Like, what is she doing? Yorda, come on, babe. Dignity, please.
I shouldn't call her babe.
Come on, sweet cheeks. Get on with it.
Just to take a bite of my apple.
Delicious apple. Nutrition.
Nutrition.
Something that Yorda and her stringy goddamn hair clearly hasn't had any access to in her stupid bird cage.
Yorda probably has a mild case of the scurvy.
I would have to. I think we got loose teeth. Her
we got
hair is falling out. Yeah.
We got some scar tissue that's not behaving properly.
Right. Not sexy red hot chili pepper scar tissue. Just all kinds of keloid bullshit. Yeah.
Case of the scurvy.
Anyway, she got the scurvies.
She's got the scurvy. They continue. They arrive in what appears to be the queen's throne room.
Yeah.
There's a chair upon a dais. While they're looking around, Yorda just sits down on the throne, and Eco's like, "What are you doing?" And then he sees a vision of the past of Ozuma and the priest king, standing over the queen, the queen in air quotes, and Ozuma chops her head off, and Yorda just kind of stands there, and doesn't say anything because it wasn't the queen. It was the chief handmaiden, made to look like the queen. Mm-hmm. So Ozuma and the priest king's victory is all for naught because Yorda basically doesn't say anything because she still thinks that she can protect or save her mother. Right. That's her thing. That Yorda believes deep down that she can save her mother if given the chance.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So she just keeps her mouth shut on that one.
She just keeps her mouth shut, and Yorda is then possessed by the queen, and she takes hold of Eco. And in chapter 4.5, we have a pre-showdown showdown.
Yeah. The warm-up showdown.
The
talkie showdown.
So Eco and the queen, speaking through Yorda, have a debate about what love is and what family means. Yeah. And I thought this was actually a really interesting discussion they have because Eco was like, it's like your biological family is not the thing that matters. It's the people who love you because he's like, I'm adopted and they love me and they are my family. And the queen is like, love doesn't exist. The only thing that matters is blood, or something like that. There's no such thing as love, you silly, petulant child.
Facts don't care about your feelings.
She's a real Ben Shapiro.
She's got,
yeah.
She's like, let's just say.
Let's just say.
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically,
family matters.
That I could turn you to stone.
Yeah.
Let's just say.
Let's just say. Yeah. It's a very talky showdown. I did find it really interesting, and it's funny because as it started, I started to go, oh, what are we doing? Like, because just the big stretches of dialogue in other books in the past have always bummed me out. But it's just like a lot of things. I remember in playwriting class, one of my earliest playwriting classes, they said, you don't write monologues, and then someone, I correctly think correctly, said, well, what about all of these other plays that have monologues in them? Like, why, if we're not meant to write monologues, and then my professor basically said, well, they earned that. Like, you trust me when I say that you do not need to write monologues right now. Just write your damn stories, and eventually you'll get to a point where a monologue is necessary and you'll know what to do with it. And it's because a monologue can be it can destroy, everything. And these long, rambling philosophical conversations have absolutely ruined stories and books in the past.
They have, yeah.
This is not one of those situations.
No.
I was genuinely intrigued and kind of...
It's restating the two sides.
Yes.
Where it's the one side is saying it's the power of love. It's your found family. It's the people you love and you cherish. That's what matters. And the other side is saying the only thing that matters is hierarchy. And which is, a very, we said Ben Shapiro, but it's also like Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, it's actually,
talking about fucking lobsters.
No, you're absolutely right. You know what? I can't believe I missed that. I can't believe I went with the easy Shapiro when I should have gone with the intermediate Jordan. You're absolutely
that degree of
right.
Difficulty in reference.
Yeah. I think you fucking nailed it. Like, that's absolutely true. Like, the parallel there is absolutely true. She is, because she's arguing for that hierarchy, and people need to kneel, and the strong need to rule, and and she even argues in terms of like, think of all the cruelty in the world that can be avoided, and et cetera, et cetera. It's like, clearly self-serving, but it's one of those arguments that can be intoxicating to all the wrong people, where it's like, I can save people if you would only kneel.
Yeah. And I've been listening to it recently on Behind the Bastards. Robert Evans. It's a good show. It's a good podcast. Robert Evans, we're here. We can guests. We can do a guest spot on Behind the Bastards whenever you want, buddy.
You want us to come on? Huh? You got a bastard. There are plenty of bastards in the gaming industry.
There's
probably
plenty.
Even more in the publishing industry.
Yeah, we can sit down and have you talk to us about, the bombing the Great Lakes.
Bobby.
Yeah. So on the recent episodes of Behind the Bastards, he'd been talking about billionaires and this concept of long-termism.
Yes.
It's like a philosophy where they think, and I'm trying to remember the other name for the philosophy. Basically, it's billionaires think that they are predestined to be the ones that save the world ultimately, and they don't believe that these small things, like basically they filter everything through like bullshit trolley problems. We're like, well, it's better to terraform Mars than it is to save this planet, right? Like everything, it's like they step everything up. They're like, well, we could save the planet, like I could save this city, from having lead in their water, or I could save the planet. But how about this? How about I could say, instead of saving the planet, I could terraform a new planet.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's ultimately
because it's sexier and more interesting.
It's
and
sexier and more interesting. And it's like, it's going to save the world. And that's what, so Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and all these fuckers, this is what they believe in. And that's why they are terrible people.
And that's why they're bad.
And that is why, that's why they're bad. And that's why the Queen is bad in this book, tying it back around.
We didn't get off track for too long there.
The Queen, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, or Thiel, I think, Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, just a litany of fucking assholes who do nothing good for nobody. Nothing. Fuck all of them. Listen, guys. I don't want to get political here.
I know. Yeah, I don't. I know that we get off on rants and everything like that and everything. But do you remember not too long ago when it took us 5 episodes to get through the first Resident Evil book? We have improved. We are way better.
We are way better. We're efficient machines. And part of that efficiency is you got to give us these rants.
Yeah. We just a little bit of fat to make the steak taste so good.
Just a little bit of fat, because you know what? The best burger is actually a mixture of different fat content ground beef. Right? You got your 90% and your 70%, I want to say. You mix them together. One provides the flavor, the other provides the structure.
Yes.
You ever cook up a burger and it shrinks up into like a little ball and you're like, why the fuck did it do that? Why did the burgers? It's because you're not using the right mixture of ground beef. Like the Queen in Eco.
You ever look at a steak and you see that marbling, those little veins of fat that go through? If you look really close at the veins of fat, what that actually is rants from 2 chubby white guys talking about why Ayn Rand is stupid.
Yep, that's it right there. That's provide the flavor. All the flavor and all the steaks and all the world are generated from the rants in this podcast.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
So the Queen admits to destroying the old.
This is where we really need like commercial breaks. Scott does it right. Like even before it's probably not aliens. Before they even got sponsors, so like we could probably use a sting here where we
Let's use a sting here, and then we'll pick it up after. No, baby, we're too good for that.
No, man.
We don't have a producer.
One take.
We don't have a producer in our ear just telling us to stop talking about bombing the Great Lakes.
Pixel-lit is the one shot, the one cut shot of Goodfellas wandering through the back of the restaurant and making your way out to the show.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
Because more references.
Because more references.
I may have spent the Thanksgiving holiday with me and Kevin's partner Keeler, who is the king of making obscure pop culture references.
He is.
His similes and metaphors.
He really is.
Undisputed.
And we love him for that.
Absolutely.
You know who else loves him for that? The Queen admits to destroying the old capital of the Grendel Empire.
Just go, man. Just go.
Which, so the old capital became the Stone City. The Stone City that we see earlier in the book is the original capital of this Grendel Empire. And she also reveals to Eco that she turned Toto to stone in the city, which is a real heartbreaking moment for Eco.
So sad. It's so sad, and probably a really bad idea. Like that, she should have left that one. She should have left that one alone.
Chest. Yeah.
And
then she also reveals a double twist that it was the priest king of the Grendel Empire who used a a spell on Yorda to stop time in the castle to prevent the queen from enacting her plans. And the sacrifices were not from the queen, but were from the priest king and Ozuma, basically Ozuma cursing his own bloodline to out of guilt for the part that he played in the failure to stop the queen's tyranny. And because they ended up having to use Yorda as this pawn to freeze time and place. Yeah. And then the queen basically is like, well, you can join me. You know, we can go rule the world together. And then she's like, I'll let you think on that. And she leaves. Yeah. And
she's like, your dad's a real asshole, huh? Like your great granddad? What a dickweed. Think it over. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later, pal. All right,
here's
bye-bye.
A Black Flag record. Listen to that. Be angry.
He's like, I'm gonna leave some Elliott Smith playing before I go.
Just soak that up.
You know, it's you're gonna have a good cry with Angela's. So she goes, and the last line of this section is, "Iko was alone. The dark truth, his only companion." Oh.
God damn it. This fucking Alexander Smith is such a good translator.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So after 4.6, after moping for a bit, Iko apologizes to the shades.
Yeah.
And then he has another vision of Azuma and he begins to follow it. We learn a little bit more that Azuma returned and remained because he believed that there was love at the castle once before, and with the assumption of, and there could be again, ? Never really said, but that's what he's like, I believe in the power of love is his thinking. And he tells Iko, go find the sword.
Just listen to the rhythm of my heart.
Just listen to the rhythm of my heart.
All right, we're gonna get sued. All right. How did Pixel it end? I don't know. The darkness was listening at a really
the darkness was randomly moment. Listening.
Yeah. That would be my look.
Every day. So Iko realizes that he's never going to be able to find the sword by going through the castle because the queen is the castle.
Yeah.
And it's like, how would you be able to find the sword walking on the like, I didn't write down the exact metaphor. It's like walking on a giant's palm or something like that. Like,
right.
You're in their hands. You're never going to be able to. So he makes an executive decision and he fucking jumps off the bridge.
Yeah. Which, fair enough.
Because you know what? I got to get out of the castle. And he does. Yeah, so he gets out of the castle and he lands in the water, washes to shore. And he starts finding his way through several areas of cave and platforming sections, which I believe were probably written in because they were from the game. And there's this really good moment. I mean, the beginning of the chapter is like, okay, yeah, he's getting through. All right, whatever. But then he finds the sword, and it's this really amazing moment where the sword begins to reflect memories back to him. And some of them are his own, but then he starts seeing that they're not just his own. They are the memories of each of the sacrifices that had made their way to the castle. And it's interesting, like it's memories of their foster families, of their lives before going to the castle. The sword had saved and entrusted the memories of all of the shades so that they weren't lost to time. Like it remembered all of the sacrifices because nobody else was really necessarily going to. And I was like, okay, that's a
pretty great.
that's a good moment.
Yeah, it's a good moment, and it helps him to further appreciate that these shades, these sad ghosts, have been fighting with him, that have been like blocking his path, and that they're all, each one of them, he sees them smiling, he sees them working in the fields and living their lives, and each one of them has a story. Each one of them has
a story to tell. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really cool moment. It's really, really cool.
So Iko takes the sword, and for him, it's as light as a feather, as opposed to earlier in the book when the knight took it to cast that spell. He could only drag it along the ground, because it wasn't meant for him.
It's like minor Mjolnir kind of thing.
Yeah, a little Mjolnir-y. So Iko, we're in 4.8 now, and Iko arrives back at the chamber with the sarcophaguses or sarcophagi. Sarcophagi.
Yeah.
And they begin to drain him and the sword of his energy. They got some weird snake emblems on them, and they're described, even though they're just stone sarcophagus, they're described as like animals with these maws that are just sucking in the energy.
Yeah.
They're leeches. They're leeches, and it also finds Yorda has been turned to stone, which that's a bummer.
Yeah.
So Iko decides he breaks out of his trance because he wants to do something for the shades, right? And he begins to destroy each sarcophagus with his sword, and they're just he's just able to smash them apart one after the other, and like the shades begin to like help him. He like falls off a ladder at one point, and one of the shades catches him and puts him down on the floor, and he destroys all of them.
Yeah, it's a real Link with clay pots kind of a moment. He just wrecks shit in there.
Just wreck shit and get those rupees.
Yeah.
And then the shades kind of like surround the statue of Yorda while he continues on into the throne room. And he gets to the throne room. The queen's like, "Hey, so you've chosen to do this. You've chosen to fight me." And they begin their final battle. And it's basically the queen just keeps blasting him with this wind that can turn things to stone. It knocks the sword out of his hand. Iko gets bruised and battered and tossed about, and then the shades, and it's thematically appropriate. The shades begin to surround Iko and act as a barrier between the queen and him. And he refers to them. He thinks of them as the army of sacrifices.
Yeah,
and they're getting killed by the queen's like stone spell, but he's able to advance onto the queen. And it's like it's thematically appropriate because like, okay, it's that found family, it's the power of love, it's all that stuff.
Yeah, and it's true sacrifices
and true sacrifice, self-sacrifice, selflessness. And Iko is able to get close enough to the queen to give her the old whack with Lizzie Borden's axe.
Yeah.
And
dirty whacks with a wet noodle.
and she dies.
She's gone.
And all the energy is released. And the shades disappear. They vanish. And Iko passes the fuck out.
And rightfully so. I think he's earned it.
He's had
it quite the day or year or however long he was there.
However long this has been.
Not really clear.
It's not super clear.
No.
And then the castle starts becoming undone because the only thing holding it together really was the queen's presence, and she is dead. Yorda wakes up. She is free from the stone, and she finds Iko, and she carries him down to the water and finds like a plank to put him on and kind of like pushes him down the river. And she decides to stay at the castle as it falls apart. And we get a nice moment of Ozuma's statue. Nothing, it doesn't break at all. It just falls off into the ocean, like whole cloth. Falls into the ocean as opposed to like shattering or whatever. We cut over to the Stone City and we get some positive news. Everything starts crumbling in the Stone City except Arrowwind wakes up.
Yeah.
And is like the horse, Arrowwind, is like, okay, what the fuck? I'm running. And just starts running back to the town.
Yeah. Eco games, they really can't stand to let a horse suffer.
No.
Between this and Shadow of the Colossus, they got a good theme of being like, the horse is fine. The horse is fine.
Horse
He
is
didn't
fine.
do anything wrong. We're not going to punish the fucking horse.
We're not going to punish the horse. Horses are great.
Horses are awesome.
So the wind that is released start like the bells in the capital city start ringing, and all the windows blow open where the priests are. And back in town, Toto wakes up from being stone.
Yeah.
And then we get an epilogue of Iko waking up on the beach, unable to remember what happened at the castle. And he walks and he finds Yorda on the beach. He's pretty sure he knows her, and he helps her to her feet. And that's the end of the book.
And you know what? Good. Not the end of the book, I mean, but I'm glad that Iko didn't have to, that poor kid, the least he could get is a clean slate where he doesn't have to think about friggin' shit. Just let him be a stupid kid, for God's sake.
He doesn't have to remember what happens. All that shit. Yeah. He's earned it. It. So, Phil, final thoughts on the book.
That was great. I think I still have a minor to moderate quibble with the choice of the whole 100 and some odd page flashback chapter.
Sure.
With Yorda. I think it was still great stuff. Like I said last episode, I question the way that we got it in one big lump like that, and getting back to the world, it did take a little doing because of that. But outside of that, I mean, this is seriously one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best examples of how to do a good job with expanding on your source material, because Iko the game does not get into this detail. The stakes are far simpler,
right?
And that game studio is known for telling wonderful stories with very little active storytelling, if you will.
Right.
And so to take all of that, and there's a clear respect for the source material. It's not just for a paycheck. It's not a suspiciously, I was already working on this kind of thing, even though it could have been, because so much of it is original work to the game.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, the vast majority of this is original to the game. You are not getting a walkthrough of all the puzzles in Iko with this game, with some narration over it. I thought it was terrific. I think the translation's great. I think the tone throughout keeps with the game. I think it's wonderful. It's in my top 5 of the books we've read on this show, for sure.
Easily in the top 5 of the books that we've read.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where it falls in the top 5 for me personally, I'd have to think a little bit about. About what else is in that top 5. I know this is in it. Kind of becomes
apples and oranges at that point.
Yeah, anyway, ranking is more of an exercise you do for fun rather than for any real critical measure of a work. But we'll probably do some sort of tier maker episode at some point. But yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with a lot of what you said. I think I was a little bit more fine with the flashback, just only because it gave only for the sake of giving Yorda more agency rather than just kind of like a princess that is, the princess in the castle. I think it was probably a very conscious decision by the female author of the work to kind of like, hey, Yorda, here's Yorda doing stuff,
Yeah. Oh, and I think that's great too. It's just the pacing of it.
Was a bit of a change up. It was a bit of a change up, whereas the rest of the book was all fastballs. So this was kind of
absolutely,
that chapter was a bit of a change up.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it's a wonderful book. And before we read it, you and I were talking about how, this book is one of the video game novel adaptations that everybody says is one of the best ever. And I can see why. I can totally see why people say that, because it's the prose is wonderful. Some of that is a lot of that is going to be with the intentions that Miyabi wrote it with, but also the translation by Alexander O. Smith. There's a great style and sense to the prose and to the way the characters are written. They are fleshed out. You understand how they're written. Each character speaks in a unique voice, which is something that we don't necessarily call out too often, but coming off of Dark Souls Mask of Vindication,
I think it bears
it's warranted. I think it bears pointing out that it's good with that. So I'm glad that we read this, and I'm happy. I'm happy we have this one. We have this one down in our catalog.
Absolutely. What a treat. Really enjoyed that one.
What a treat.
Yeah.
Speaking of treats, Phil, I got one question to ask you.
Go on.
What are you playing?
Oh, well, I
love every time I ask it, you're surprised that I ask it. Oh, well,
it's just such a delightful question to ask. I'm always surprised to hear the merchant here in the studio with us. I have been playing mostly, despite dropping a small chunk of change on the Steam autumn sale here, whatever the sale was, the Thanksgiving sale, the most recent one.
Too much.
Yeah,
too much money.
Yeah, I invested in a few games that are gonna. I've got this little play playlist on my Steam account, and my goal is to have it there in front of me to hold myself accountable. So I whittle down these games that I pay for, and it's not going anywhere. It's only getting bigger. But no, I'm still playing Against the Storm. I've actually logged in a lot of hours in it. It is fucking great. I am just so satisfying. It's great. The roguelike elements are fantastic when you start to get the hang of the city builder and what everything, you gotta just fail several times. It's gotta be worth it to you to fail several times just to figure it out.
Right.
But when you get the hang of that, it just really starts to flow. You start to get into rhythms, and I'm an achievement guy, and the achievements are basically built into how you get power-ups for future eras of your kingdom and everything, for that roguelike element of it. So you look at it and go, okay, this round I should try to do this, this, and this so I can earn some points.
Right.
And eventually you get the rhythm going, and you want to up the difficulty a little, and you can do each individual settlement at different difficulties. So you can test out a higher difficulty level without investing the entire game in that, which is really cool. And I think going to be valuable for people who are just, trying to get used to the game in general. Yeah. I can't recommend it enough. I freaking love it. I'm up to like 20 hours in it right now. And I'm really enjoying it. I did, however, take a little bit of time and go over to play Model Builder, which is, I think I learned something about myself when I played Model Builder. Model Builder, that one came out last year. And it's exactly what it says. It's a sim where you have inherited a kick-ass kind of geek shed that has all the paints and clippers and airbrushes and files and all the stuff that you want, and display cases, and you enter contests and put together toy soldiers and airplanes and Warhammer style figurines and shit like that.
That sounds put them together. Extremely you.
Very me. It's very me. You got to follow the instructions and, do it just so, and you can win contests, and then you can display, the figures and everything. And I'm going to go back into it. But the thing is, I've played a lot of these kind of sim games. I did a review not that long ago, I guess, of Lawnmower Simulator, which I really enjoyed.
Sure.
And this whole thing for me, and I think for a lot of people, started with years back when Euro Truck Simulator came out.
Right.
Just trucking across Europe and that kind of thing, and listening. It was just these sims were like great ways to kind of waste some time, listen to your podcasts, and dull your senses for a little while. And the joke everyone makes is it's kind of like the same thing as Guitar Hero when that was popular. People are like, why don't you just learn how to actually do the thing? It's like, well, no, it's not that simple. Obviously this is just meant to waste a little time.
Yeah.
Model Builder for me might be too similar to what I actually do when I'm.
Is it a bridge too far?
It might for me.
One toke over the line. Yeah.
I think some people will really enjoy it. If you've like always wanted to like put these things together and you want to like fantasize about that kind of thing, you don't already have a desk with paints and fucking minis and like, clippers and all the shit all the accoutrement. If you haven't already invested in that, I can see where it'd be a lovely way to get a good feeling about that sort of thing. But for me, it was the first time with one of these sim games when I was playing it where I'm doing it and I was like, I literally got like hundreds of dollars. I've just got a delivery. The fucking
the Darkest Dungeon. Does that have models in it to paint?
This has models upon models upon models. This is just one of the boxes. I got 2 boxes. And this just contains models, and it's got so freaking many of them. I would open it, but it's got like boxes and boxes and boxes, and it's like hundreds of models in this thing. And I for the first time ever with these sim games, I truly felt guilty of like, I could just, why don't I, if I want to listen to a podcast and paint some miniatures, why don't I sit down and paint some miniatures?
Paint the miniatures that you actually bought and have to paint.
And yeah, exactly. And so I will never criticize anyone for enjoying this game and playing this game at all. But for me personally,
I have an image of you sitting there playing the game and like stacks of models like that are just like ready to go. That you need to paint, and like the paints and all the tools, and like your wife walking in and seeing you playing a digital version of building models while you have your actual models like collecting dust, gathering dust right next to you.
It would be a tough one to explain. It's already, when you marry a non-gamer or something like that, there's already like some explanations.
There's a level of disconnect in explaining things, because it becomes a little hard to be like, okay, well, and you realize that you don't have the bridge to cross.
No, and this is probably the only time that if she looked at me and said, "Why?" If we were playing Guitar Hero or something like that, and she was like, "Why don't you just play guitar?" It's like, because I don't play this well, and it's a power fantasy, and it's just a party game. It's not meant to be work. You could do that kind of, but if she came in and said, "Why are you playing this model building game when there's literally like this orc sitting next to you that you've been meaning to paint for a month, and it's got nothing, you're going to have to brush the fuck out of it because it does actually have dust on it." Like what? I don't have an explanation. You would not have
a good explanation.
Not in that situation. And I realized it with one simple thing. There is, when you get the model, you open it up, it's in a box. And just like with most models, it's on little sprues, and you've got your clipper thing. And if you've been modeling for a long time, you realize that you don't necessarily go in as close to the sprue connecting to the model as you can. You go a little further out, and then you use like, a X-Acto knife or something like that to get the rest of it off, so that it's a cleaner edge there, and it's not as obvious when you're painting it. And so I have my clippers in the game and my sprue, and so it was like, snip here to disattach it from these things. And I go, okay, so I get it just right. And the mouse is kind of sensitive, so I'm getting it just right where I would clip it.
Yeah.
And when I do, it just automatically clips it flush to the thing. And I went, oh, I'm way over. This isn't for me. I don't think this is for me.
You.
I don't think this is for me.
No.
And then the painting sections, I was like, oh, this will be interesting. And it's terrific. It's a lot of fun. If you're interested and you've never done this kind of thing before, it's a fun little time waster. I think it might not be my thing. I think I may have barked up the wrong tree. I may have flown too close to the sun.
A little bit too close to the sun.
Little too close. So that's
your model of Icarus and your model of Daedalus are
yeah.
They were too close to the sun, and the paint peeled right off of them.
Right. I think other people might enjoy this. I can't justify it. For once, I can't justify the time. I just can't. Yeah. So Kevin, what are you playing?
Oh, I have a whole thing. Okay, so between I didn't talk about Immortality last episode, did I?
No, but you guys have been talking about it in the chat. Yeah, and I watched Jacob Geller's video on it. Yeah, and I am very intrigued. I am very, very intrigued. So please tell me more.
So I was like, here's the thing: is like I saw Jacob had released the video, and I was like, I knew it was going to spoil a little bit of Immortality, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to play the game. It's been on my to-do list. So Immortality is it's a tremendous game. It's an FMV game. Basically, you play the part of, you assume, some sort of digital archivist who is looking through old film spools on a moviola. And when you're looking through the clips, you can click on something in the clip and it takes you to another clip, like a match cut of that thing in another clip. So like, all right, I'm going to click on a cup, and it like, all right. And it takes me to another clip, and you discover another clip that has a cup at like the same angle or what have you. And you're unspooling the story of what happened to this actress named Marissa Marcel. And what happened? Where did she go? Why she was in 3 feature films. None of them got released. And it was like in the late 60s and in 1999 were the 3 films. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing. And the amount of work that Sam Barlow, who is the creator, and his team did to create 3 films that thoroughly replicated the styles of the eras that they were shot in. So the first film is called Ambrosio. It's like an erotic thriller, like postcode European erotic thriller about a monk who is tricked by the devil into having sex and lusting and all that stuff. And it's directed by this guy who's like kind of like a Hitchcockian kind of guy with his misogyny and all that stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And he and it's shot in like in full frame, right? So it's got kind of like that 4:3 aspect ratio because it was shot in full frame, 35 millimeter. And then the next one is a detective story, about a murder in the art world in Manhattan, and it's shot in like the cinemascope that you would find in like a early 1970s movie. Yeah. The 2:35:1 aspect ratio and all that stuff. And then the final one is shot on it's like regular 16:9. It was shot in it was like 1999, and it's lit like, you'd find like a movie in 1999. It's that, and
like
that's
a film student's dream.
It is. That's just the aesthetics. And that's the thing, is I don't even want to get too far into the story because there is stuff in the story that absolutely blows your mind. Mm-hmm. And I think it's worth kind of like discovering it for yourself when you go through and play it. So once you play it, go and watch Jacob Geller's video on Immortality, which does a tremendous job kind of analyzing one particular scene and describing what the nature of the game is to you. So Immortality, it's not that long. It only takes a few hours to play through, and I was being pretty precise with, like, I was clicking on every scene and all that stuff, and I didn't even find all the scenes.
Right.
You don't have to find everything to quote unquote beat the game.
Right.
You just kind of complete the story. So that's Immortality. The other thing that I've been playing is Signalis, which
I'm so glad you play. I just got that. I was reading about it and it sounds fucking great. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm playing. So it's like, the best way to kind of describe it is if you took old school Resident Evil, in terms of tone and survival horror-ness and like lack of resources, and you matched it with Metal Gear Solid 1 in terms of like camera angle, and you'll understand as soon as you play it. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like there's actually like little labels, like the way a little thing, like the inspect thing pops up. You're like, is that the Metal Gear Solid font?
Right. Oh, I love shit like that.
And some of the sound effects and all that stuff, but also like the general camera angle. It feels like Metal Gear Solid 1. It's really good. I've been enjoying my time with it. I actually ended up restarting it because it was one of those moments where I was having a lot of trouble, and I basically realized I'd wasted way too much ammo, like in my initial run. And I was like, I'm going to go back through and just basically save ammo. Once you learn how to run around things, you're like, you get more healing items than you do ammunition. So it's like balanced more towards avoid and maybe take the occasional hit rather than kill everything, you know?
Right. Okay, cool.
So yeah, that's Signalis, whatever. I'm also trying to install on my Steam Deck. I don't know if the episode will be out by the time on Bullet Time by the time this comes out. It might actually be like the following week. I'm trying to install Die Hard Vendetta on my Steam Deck, which was a PS2 game.
Right.
And I'm doing it all legally.
I know.
I
think it's weird that you felt the need to even say that. I think we all assumed that you were.
Yeah, it's all naturally. It's all above board. Yes, so Die Hard Vendetta, I got it running on my Steam Deck. It's a god-awful game, but, James said, well, people call Die Hard a Christmas movie, so let's play a shitty Die Hard game for the Christmas episode of Bullet Time. So me and James and Snaker are playing it, and it's a great game. It's wonderful. It's very, very good.
All right.
And Marvel Snap just could.
Yeah. Well,
that's just going to be. I don't have to mention Marvel Snap again. It's just in my mobile game rotation.
it's really kind of funny because I haven't had a cigarette in over 2 years now, and most of my mobile gaming was done while having cigarettes out on my porch or something like that. So I actually haven't played a lot of mobile games. And Emily, on the other hand, loves her little mobile games. She loves that stuff. She plays Sudoku and stuff like that all the time while we're watching movies. And I think there has been this happiness coming from her while we watch a movie and I'm playing Marvel Snap or something like that, because I think she feels guilty being the only one watching the movie over her phone.
Yeah.
And so when I do it, she's like, she actually said, she's like, I think it's awesome that you like this game so much. And I was like, thank you, I guess. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, no, I agree. We do the same thing. I mean, April and I basically will do that. We'll chill out and, we'll have something. Like 99% of the stuff that we watch is not like necessary to be 1,000% paying attention to every single shot. You know what I mean?
I do indeed know what you mean. Yes.
So it's like, we're like, yeah, we have, she has, she'll have her Switch out and she's playing, tending to her Animal Crossing island. And,
right.
I've got Snap out. Ooh, I think the new week just dropped, for Marvel Snap.
Oh, yeah, I think it did. Yep, it sure did. Okay, great.
Oh,
here we go.
Here we go. And on that note, we'll wrap it up here. Ladies and gentlemen, kings, queens, and themperors, it's been fun talking about Eco. Next episode, we're going to have a guest on to talk about BioShock Mind in Revolt, I believe is the title of it. So
this will be a one-shot. It's a short story.
Short story, real brief. So until then, please follow us on Twitter, which is still standing at PixelitPod, on Instagram at PixelitPod. Go ahead to our website, pixelitpod.com, and from there you can find our Steam Curator page. You can find a link to our Discord. You can also subscribe to our newsletter. And people who are subscribed to our newsletter get the episodes a little bit early than everybody else. Incentive. Subscribe to newsletter. Get the episode early, and early will vary from week to week. Early,
we don't have a system here or anything.
We don't have a system. It's not like I have an editor on hand, but early equals when I'm done editing it. So,
maybe a couple of days, maybe 4 months, because that's how far in the future we are.
That's how it rolls, baby.
Yeah.
And Phil, we're on Goodreads now?
We are on Goodreads. It occurred to me that it's awesome that we have a Steam Curator page where we can, talk about the games that we're playing during what are you playing segment and everything like that. And I thought we really should be on Goodreads so we can actually officially share just the reviews and links and everything like that. So right now there's no proper /Pixelit thing, but if you go to Goodreads and search for Pixelit, you will find us. I'm going to be working on getting back the backlog in there, so to speak, along with, and I think this is going to be fun, we're going to have the Want to Read section there, which will be a big collection of other video game adaptations that we have talked about doing, we've thought about doing, we've seen in lists, etc. So it'll give you an idea of what might be coming down the pipe from us, and it'll give you an idea of maybe things that we haven't heard of, and you can reach out and say, I noticed that this game is not on your list, and you need to read it now, which is what we want. So come and find us on Goodreads, because we're just the wave of the future here with social media.
Wave of the future. Ooh. That's Ghost of Future, the Ghost of Future Past. Wait, the past.
Present.
Yeah. Something will do with Scrooge. Fuck it.
Yeah. Fuck it. Whatever.
We're good. Anyway, have a good night, everybody.
Good night.